Welcome back, sci-fi fans. This is Greg from Greg Reviews Sci-Fi, and today we're going to review two books, Rumors of War and Web of Truth. They're in the Cadicle Series, books 1 and 2 by Amy Duboff. Now, I don't just buy or pick up every book every author recommends. I actually read the description, and I got pretty excited because it reminded me a lot of one of my favorite books, which I'll cover in a little bit. But it also worried me a little because I really don't like the marriage or the mixing of science fiction and fantasy. And I was very, very nervous that this might be that mix. But like I said, my favorite series also kind of makes this mix, and my favorite series is way more fantasy than this ended up being. So let's just kind of get into this. First, we're going to start with Rumors of War. And Rumors of War is a giant book. It's actually 3 full volumes. I would say maybe a novella and 2 full novels. And it starts off with, so the book starts off with Chris Satinin. And he's the heir of the Satinin dynasty, which is on the planet Terraria, and the humans, which they are called Terrans. Now, I'm not going to give away any spoilers, or I'm going to try hard not to, because there's a lot of this book. It's a generational book if you've ever read those, which means the characters you start off with are not the characters that are in the middle of the series where I'm at now. So I got to be careful where I give you spoilers. But needless to say, Chris is a very important person. He's royalty. He's very rich. And he's unhappy. So it kicks off this kind of journey, which is very space opera-y, if that's a word, space opera-y, where he leaves home and he gets his bearings in the world, and he ends up in a military organization. Now you might wonder, well, why is he running away from home? And there's a lot of reasons that you'll have to read the book to find out, but essentially, and this is where the fantasy piece comes in. Well, what I worried was the fantasy piece, is that the priesthood, which is the governing body of the royalty, let's say, so they're one step above the royalty, kind of old English style, but the governing body has declared that telekinesis is illegal. So these people that are born with these abilities hide it, and they don't feel like their life is fulfilled, right? Because they don't use it, they can't express themselves, things like that. So Chris leaves, and he joins this military organization that, among other things, teaches you how to harness your telekinesis, to, as a tool for good. Well, it turns out when he joins this organization that he joins is called the TSS. And it turns out when he joins, he finds out that they're actually at war. There's a secret war with the Baskin. And I'm not giving anything away that's not in the description of the book, but essentially the Baskin are also telekinetic in their abilities, right? So they need other telekinetics in order to fight this battle, or these battles. So that's why the TSS exists. They harness them and they send them off to battle to fight. Now the timeline is really odd because Earth, it seems like, is at current technology levels, and it doesn't seem like that Earth was the spawn of human civilization, that it's just an outpost planet. Which I haven't quite figured out yet, so hopefully I get further in the book. It explains it because the TSS base is bored into the moon, which might be a little bit of spoiler. So why would they pick that moon on that backwater place if it doesn't hold some sort of significance? So I'm interested to see how that comes out. But needless to say, so I'm all the way through book 1, and it took significant effort to get through book 1 because, like I said, it's 3 volumes, and I was not planning on reading all these in a row. Right? I have a lot of books I want to read. I want a lot of books I want to tell you about, and I couldn't stop reading them. I kept flipping, and finally, I mean, I'm not at a good stopping point. I mean, Amy, stops these books with cliffhangers and other tools that you really want to continue on and read the next book. But I had to put a hard stop at I'm right at 50% for the series. Since I bought them all at once, it's just one giant book on my Kindle, so it tells me I'm at 48% or whatever. So I thought, I better stop, do a quick video on what I think so far, and tell you about it. Here is the interesting piece. So the main character, so Chris is still around, but the main character is not Chris, and I don't want to ruin this. I don't want to ruin the book or give you a spoiler by even telling you who the main characters are, because I think it's fun to kind of figure that out. I typically do not like these types of books that have characters that change, but this one is really good. And my favorite series of books is the Annihilation series by Saxon Andrew. Is very much the same way, and it's telekinesis mixed with space opera, and they use love as a tool to harness power, and Amy does the very same thing in these Cadicle Series books. So, Chris finds love, and it helps focus his powers and his energies, and it's really, it's not as pronounced as it is in the Annihilation series, but it is a factor in the storyline. So which I really like. I really like the idea of soulmates and that two people are better together than they are apart. So I really like that piece. I think it's a really beautiful story, especially for sci-fi, which we don't get a lot of. So let's get down to the review. I give the story 4.5 stars, which is really high. It takes a lot to get a 5-star. This is a solid space opera. It's got ships. It's got telekinesis. It's, the telekinesis is done by gene modifying and selective breeding and things like that. So there's no weird fantasy stuff going on. There's no magic or trolls or gnomes or whatever else. So the story is solid. It's sci-fi to its core. The characters, I really love the characters. Again, 4.5 stars. The original characters from book 1 are still in play, so that makes me really happy. You don't miss them. It's not like Game of Thrones where the guy you likes gets his head chopped off. Spoilers if you haven't seen that, right? It's not like that at all. It's really a very good progression. Pace is good, 4.5 stars. I mean, this is a theme so far. I couldn't put these books down. So I'm reading them on the airplane. I'm reading them, during commercial breaks. I'm reading them all the time. So they're very, very good books. I had to force myself to stop reading them in order to move on to something else, but I will come back. Originality, I gave it 3.5. It's not super original. telekinesis, connection with subspace, and selective breeding and gene modifying. I've read that in several books. I can't really place the series, but like I said, the Saxon Andrews series, Annihilation, feels very much like this book. So for originality, still good, still a solidly original book. The Baskin are original, all the characters are original, the TSS is original, even the timeline and the way the author has portrayed Earth, all of that is super original. So really good. Technology, I gave 4 stars. There's some cool technology. I like the way that the characters in the later books are developing weapons to harness their abilities. I like that people are getting more powerful. I like that they're actually fighting in subspace, which is very cool. So I gave it 4 stars. That's really high, in my opinion, for my reviews for technology. All in all, I would say run out. I'll put the link in the description. Run out and get book 1. It may be the best bargain on Amazon. It's 99 cents, and I'm telling you, this thing is like 2.5 books. It is a great, great deal. So I put the link in the description. Check it out. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you think. Catch me on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook at Greg Reviews Sci-Fi. And I'll look forward to hearing from you. Thanks. Bye.